Welcome to Have I Got News for You? I'm Alexander Armstrong. In the news this week, at daybreak in Marbella, after a night of passion with a local waitress, one guilty husband races to get home before his wife wakes up. As his tenure as Justice Secretary gets underway, there are safety concerns over Dominic Raab's alternative to the ankle tag.
The buzz is a warner, and then he'll give you a shot.
And after his sacking for incompetence last month, Gavin Williamson is spotted doing some casual labour in the Caribbean. On Ian's team tonight is a comedian who's done 5 frontline tours entertaining the troops in Afghanistan, though I'm guessing he's cancelled this year's Kabul Christmas special. Please welcome Jeff Norcott.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.
On Paul's team tonight is a journalist who has presented the news at 6, news at 10, weekend news, world news and world news today. Seems busy. Hope she's had time to keep up with the news. Please welcome Misha Hussain. Well, we begin with the bigger news stories of the week. Paul and Michelle.
Yes.
Take a look at this.
Oh, Northern Ireland Protocol. The sausages should start flowing again because the EU's made an offer that should end the sausage wars. It should also help things like the supply of medicines, but we all know that sausages are far more important, obviously.
Yes. Who's not happy with the Northern Ireland Protocol?
You don't look happy.
No. Is it Billy Bremner? Former Leeds United captain.
No, not on this occasion. Not Lord Frost.
Lord Frost is right to be unhappy, because this Northern Ireland Protocol was negotiated by some idiot called Lord Frost. And he's now got to sort it out. So thank goodness he's there, because otherwise we'd have this hopeless deal that was negotiated by him. But sausages are the main thing.
Yes.
Cumberland sausages,
Yeah. Why particularly sausages?
because they're chilled meats.
They are chilled meats. The EU has very strict rules on health, safety and animal welfare. They're constantly stopping and checking chilled meat imports, mince, sausages, all of that as they arrive. Because according to Reuters, they want to prevent the British sausage entering through the back door.
But that was illegal in Northern Ireland until quite recently.
What's been the consequence of this renewed sausage vigilance?
Checks on the border, which,
Yep.
again, was something that were always thought to be a problem at the time, but the government told us not to worry about, but it turns out they are a problem. Who knew?
Do you know what a sausage has to be in order to be a sausage?
Yeah, it has to come from a pig.
They have to contain 32% meat. Or if it's a pork sausage, 42% meat. Different rules for pork.
If it's down my local calf, 14% meat.
Shall we play
Yeah, I
a
didn't know
fun
what it
game
is, but I'll
of
play it.
Not in My Sausage?
Not in my sausage.
Not in my sausage. I will give you a list of items
Yeah.
which may or may not count as meat in a British sausage. You have to tell me which items are not allowed. OK.
OK.
Sausages on buzzers.
Yeah.
Allowed or not allowed? Teeth. Paul.
Allowed.
Allowed. Yes,
Yeah.
teeth.
Because otherwise,
As meat.
you wouldn't be able to eat them.
Feet. Yes, Ian.
Yes, definitely allowed.
Not allowed. No.
Not allowed. Don't be ridiculous. The sausages run away. And start biting people individually. No good.
Eyeball. Yes, Jeff.
I hope so.
Yes, they're allowed. Eyeballs are allowed. Lungs. Michelle.
I think almost certainly allowed.
Not allowed.
Ooh.
Rectum.
Beg your pardon?
Rectum.
That's a town in North Wales.
Allowed or not allowed?
Not allowed.
Not allowed, no.
Not allowed.
Quite right. Rectum, not allowed.
Not allowed. Of course it's not.
What do you think about intestines?
What do I think about intestines?
Yes.
I think they're overrated. What do you think what do I think about intestines? Is this a new game show that you're trying to plug?
Trying hard, yeah.
Skinless.
Curiously, intestines are not allowed in the sausage.
You know, the worst thing about this is none of this information has put me off sausages.
No.
I'm still thinking I'd still really like a sausage.
Yeah.
Where is Christmas currently stuck?
Felixstowe.
Felixstowe.
Absolutely right. Yes, it is full. There are not enough drivers to take the containers away. There they all are. Who won't be helping out with the HGV?
Billy Bremner.
He won't.
Keir Starmer, who had a go at driving an HGV not very successfully.
That's right. His HGV PR stunt he took part in this week went slightly wrong. Here is Keir Starmer reversing a lorry.
And then when that lines up,
From that angle, so you'd have failed your test.
I think he's an all right bloke. I think he's a decent bloke, but he's just... he seems like the first bloke that your mum dates after she gets divorced. You know what I mean? You're at a family do. You're all in the room going, you know what? He makes her happy. He treats her well. Yes, he's a bit of a melt, but, you know, let's just stick by him while she rebuilds her self-esteem.
What did Keir Starmer let slip this week? We learnt something about him.
The dogs of war.
Special case. So he was at a cereal factory and they said, your name's Keir, and he went, yes, Special Keir Cat, and he fumbled the joke completely while simultaneously comparing himself to no one's favourite cereal.
He basically admitted that his nickname is Special K. And it has been pointed out subsequently that Special K is a nickname for ketamine.
Yeah.
Tranquilizer that put horses to sleep. I mean, Keir Starmer works on humans too. In other news, what else will we be short of, according to the scaremongers?
Toys.
Absolutely right. Yes. What's wrong with pants?
What, no pants?
No, cotton prices are at a 10-year high thanks to a shortage because of bad weather. Wiped out the American cotton crops. So pants.
Yes, but that won't affect the pants that we already have.
No, that's true.
I mean, we're not going to live in a world without pants.
So I should have said new pants.
Yeah, you should have said new pants.
New pants.
But you didn't, did you?
I didn't, no. Finally, they asked a local expert on the news what to do if there aren't any turkey this...
Turkus.
That as well.
No, no, turkey.
What's that, a cross between a turkey and a circus?
I'd go.
I wouldn't.
Here's our local expert. Here he is.
if there are no turkeys, you always get a big chicken.
There you are. This is the latest row with the EU and supply shortages. With the government failing to get a grip on shortages, the Grocer magazine reported 1 in 3 shoppers have already started to stock up on Christmas food. In fact, the nation's fridges are so full, there isn't even one for Boris to hide in. Meanwhile, at an HGV testing centre, Keir Starmer reversed a truck and crashed it into a brightly coloured bollard. To be fair, he thought he'd spotted Angela Rayner in the rearview mirror. Also this week, President Macron is leading a push for French to replace English as the dominant language of the European Union, with one official stating, no longer should our institutions be imbued with Anglo-Saxon culture. What is the French for, oh, fuck off? Ian and Jeff, take a look at this.
That's the Select Committee report. That's Jeremy Hunt. He used to be Health Secretary. Now he criticises the government's health policy. Here are the experts. Professor Van Tam, Professor Whitty.
He could have left the door open for him, couldn't he?
Ah, there's another expert on health issues.
Getting injected with charisma there.
Well, the Select Committee was asked to look into the handling of COVID, and their response was that it was probably, I don't know, not very good. No, they actually said it was the worst public health crisis in British history.
That's right.
So the government's COVID response is up there with the Black Death. I'm not exaggerating. I'm trying to be balanced.
So what did the report find? It concluded we didn't lock down quickly enough, we didn't protect the elderly in care homes, we didn't close borders quickly enough,
No.
and we were wrong to pursue herd immunity. I mean, Gavin Williamson would call that an A-star performance. The report was severely critical of the £38 billion test and trace system, calling it slow, uncertain, and often chaotic. Dido Harding was unavailable for comment. I say unavailable, no one could could track her down.
The report did say as well that we should have challenged the science before.
Well, that's right.
Because I thought the science was like this one thing that everyone
Yeah.
agreed with. Turns out there are lots of sciences and they don't always agree. But I would say that the British public, we challenge the science a lot. I mean, on my family WhatsApp group, everyone was virologist, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean, we all know who Stephen Barclay is, don't we? Steve Barclay, here he is.
He looks like Alan Pardew.
Yeah, I was going to say that. You sure that's not Alan?
Near enough, near enough. He's replaced Michael Gove as the Chancellor of the Duchy of Lancaster.
You sure that's not Alan
That
Pardew?
is Alan Pardew.
It's a bit like Steve Barclay.
Oh, right. Sorry.
It'll do.
Oh, is that the joke?
Will you-
Was there a joke in this?
Yeah, it was a joke. Yeah,
Oh.
Was it?
yeah, it was a joke. Yeah,
Well, you've baffled me, I tell you that.
it was a joke.
Yeah, who is that?
Alan Pardew used to be manager of Crystal Palace? amongst others?
Charlton.
Charlton.
Yeah.
Well, that makes it clear.
You see, there was a really disgruntled bloke over there that went, West Ham. They always leave out the hammers, don't they?
Steve Barclay was grilled about the report, refused to apologise. In fact, more than 10 times he refused to apologise for the government mistakes that led, as he was reminded, to the loss of thousands of lives. What else did Barclay admit to not doing?
Not resembling Alan Pardew in any way.
He admitted to Sky News that he had actually not read the 151-page COVID report. He's still only halfway through the new Sally Rooney. Oh, who'd like to see Jeremy Hunt with the hair of German football legend Franz Beckenbauer?
Yes.
Personally, I would find that distasteful. Yeah, go on then.
Go on, let's have it.
That's Art Garfunkel.
Sort of like a...
What's going on? Doesn't anybody look like they used to?
I tell you, he does look...
Why have you shown us that?
Someone did it on Twitter for no apparent reason. It just looks... It suits him. Looks good. All this obviously been going on. What has Boris been up to this week?
On holiday.
On holiday.
Been on holiday.
Doing a bit of painting.
Yes, that's right. He's flown to Marbella. There we are. Look at that.
Doesn't look like it's going very well, does it? That
We've even got we've got a special exclusive glimpse of what he's working on. There we go. In other news, why did Dominic Raab lose his rag this week?
was the misogyny thing this week? No, that was last week.
That was
No,
last
that
week,
was
yeah.
last week. That was last week.
Extraordinary, wasn't it?
A minister told The Guardian that whilst at the conference, two people addressed him as Deputy Prime Minister and he bit their ear off because he thought they were taking the piss out.
I bet the two people were Priti Patel and Michael Gove.
Yeah. Who unbelievably got a new job this week?
Matt Hancock.
Absolutely right, yes. Described by Tom Tugendhat as a fascinating choice. After being given the job by the UN, helping African countries after COVID, Matt Hancock said, "We share a view of Africa as a strategic long-term partner." Hasn't got a great record with long-term partners. Finally, would you like to see Matt Hancock with the hair of Graham Souness?
Yes.
This is the Commons report into the government's handling of the pandemic. Boris Johnson has been criticised for going on holiday this week. The Spanish police said, "We have been made aware that the British Prime Minister is staying, so we are being extra vigilant." You have to get up pretty early in the afternoon to get one over the Spanish police. In a first step towards resurrecting his career, Matt Hancock has been appointed UN Special Representative for Economic and Social Recovery in Africa. If there's one thing we do know about Matt Hancock at work, he will be very hands-on. And so to round two.
Round two.
Yes, the one-armed bandit of news.
Hooray!
So, fingers on Buzzer's team. Here is, thank you very much. Michelle, was that you?
No, it was me. You said fingers on buzzer, so I did it.
Fair enough. Fingers on buzzers. Fingers above buzzers, just above buzzers. Here's your first one. Yes, Paul and Michelle.
William Shatner. has gone into space, or technically space, I think, because he's going above the Earth's atmosphere. At the age of 90, he's gone up for 10 minutes, and he's the oldest person to ever do this, and he's very happy, and he was quite emotional when he came down.
Absolutely right, yes. Who did Shatner overtake to become the oldest person in space?
Yoda.
He overtook 82-year-old Wally Funk, who made the same trip back in July.
Is this the new policy for social care, which is just firing 90-year-olds into outer space? Is this
Here is how the Australians covered one of the test launches.
Rockets everywhere this morning, while outdoing his fellow billionaires in the race to space. Amazon boss Jeff Bezos will blast into orbit next month.
You know what they call that?
A rocket.
They call it Blue Origin. Does that look a little odd to you? Joining us now for more is US correspondent Alison Petrowski-Alley. The Bezos flight will officially kick off the company's space tourism business.
Yes.
They're very professional, aren't they?
Yes.
My problem with William Shatner now is that
Yes.
he's ruined it for all of us because he's literally raised the bar for what you do after appearing on this programme into the stratosphere.
Yes.
He did one other thing first, though, which was get us a writ for libel.
He said Ilfracombe was riddled with prostitution, which it isn't.
So he was never
You've actually
invited
got to look
back.
quite hard.
What did Jeff Bezos make Shatner do after he landed?
Make an Amazon delivery?
No, it's rather he made him cry.
Oh, yes.
He made him cry. Yeah.
Why?
He was
But
overwhelmed.
head in
increase his
advance.
hours and cut down his pay.
No, I think he was just really overwhelmed. Here is Shatner post-flight.
It's just, there is Mother and Earth and comfort, and is there death? I don't know. Is that death? Is that the way death is? Whoop, and it's gone.
This is why actors don't write their own scripts.
Well, this is the news that William Shatner has boldly gone up beyond the Kármán line that marks the edge of space. Exhilarated by his flight into space, Shatner said, "To see the blue colour whip by you, then staring into blackness. Everybody needs to see this." Well, I find you can get much the same effect by taunting Chelsea fans in a pub. Astronauts are fitted with nappies so they can go to the toilet while they work, an idea Jeff Bezos is keen to roll out across his Amazon warehouses. Fingers just above your buzzers. Here's your next one.
People have been recreating very famous pictures inside a microchip.
Yeah, this is the news that micro artist David A. Linden has created works of art small enough to fit into the eye of a needle.
Oh, the eye
that
of
have
a
sold for £15,000 each. His pieces are recreations of famous artworks, including Van Gogh's Sunflowers. There we are. And look at
Wow.
this. Look at that context there.
How does he manage to do that? Is he tiny himself?
It takes
Is he
him.
like sort of 2 inches tall?
They take him months to complete. What complicates the process for David? when
Because
he's
it's small!
Yeah. He's got a 5-inch brush.
He says being alive is the problem. David wrote on his website, "My hands still jump a little as my heart beats. So I work in a rhythm between each pulse."
Blimey.
And because of the intricacy of the paintings, David can only work at night, as during the day the vibration of passing cars interfere with his strokes. Finishing the art is fantastic, he added, but I don't really enjoy it.
Not much of a gallery experience, is it?
In another design feat, what is unique about this house?
Oh, I bet it revolves. I can see a sort of motor there.
Yes.
Does it revolve round?
Exactly
Spins?
right, yes. It's a rotating house. It was built by Bosnian Vojan Kuskic, and it rotates 360 degrees, giving an uninterrupted view of the landscape. It can complete a rotation in 22 seconds. Why did Voyen build a rotating house, do you think?
He was drunk.
No, it was after numerous renovations. He said he'd had enough of his wife changing her mind about the layout of the house. Adding, now our front door also rotates. So if she spots unwanted guests heading our way, she can spin the house, make them turn away. Time now for the odd one out round. Just one between you this week, and your four are Andrew Neil, London Marathon winner Cissé Lamar, the Kunsten Museum of Modern Art in Denmark, and Mr. Gox the hamster.
I don't know.
I think Andrew Neil was, for a long time, there was a show called The Andrew Neil Show, but he wasn't on it.
Yes.
He was in France. I reckon there's... Kunsten means art, and I reckon maybe there isn't any art in there. That hamster is a fraud. He is not investing your money safely. I think he is probably quite reckless and promising maybe 7-8%, which I think at the moment is unrealistic. So I would be in favour of arresting the hamster.
OK. I'm going to tell you, OK, they've all lost money apart from the hamster, Mr. Gox, who's been making money hand over fist. He's already made 20% since June.
He's done what?
Doing investments based on what he selects with his
I
wheel.
told you he was making over 8%, and that is...
Yeah. he basically invests... Mr. Gox is an investment mechanism. We can see him at work. Here we go. Look, we have his wheel. He goes around his wheel. This selects which currency, which of the cryptocurrencies he's going to invest in. Oh, look, there's buy and sell and some cucumber. There, he's in sell.
God, this is how Jacob Rees-Mogg works.
So that's how he... And he started in June, and he has already set up his original investment then. He's made 20% on that since. Here's his performance against some of his human rivals. Look at that. Andrew Neil lost money. He turned down an offer from Rupert Murdoch to be a presenter on his new TV News UK channel.
Yes.
How did Andrew describe his time at GB News?
Dunno, you couldn't hear it or see it.
He told the Daily Mail it was worse than being on an IRA hit list. Michelle, were you ever worried about GB News? Do you ever think this could be dangerous?
I always thought it was a risky thing for them to be doing.
Your colleagues who went to join GB News, did you think that's ill-advised?
Brave decision.
Brave decision.
In a further embarrassment to the channel, newsreaders were often pranked into reading out fake viewer names, such as Mike Oxlong and Hugh Janus. Which led to Simon McCoy getting a little bit peeved. Here he is.
I'm just going to say something because if you've seen the papers, if you've seen Twitter, some people think it's really funny to send in texts and messages that, on the basis that if we read them out, you know, we've been had. You're still doing it, and I'm watching them, and it doesn't help anybody, you know.
We're just not going to read surnames from now on.
Well, so the person who's just messaged, grow up. You know, we're a new company, we're a new broadcaster, there are systems that we're putting in place that would stop idiots like you getting through. They're getting through at the moment, but please, you know, we've got other things to worry about.
Come on now.
Mind you, if you can hear us, that's an improvement.
Looks like they're outside one of those airport restaurants.
Yeah. So the runner, Cissé Lamar.
Yes.
Do we know how he lost money?
He won the London Marathon.
He did, yes.
And then he stopped to talk to the crowd or wave or say
That's
hello.
right, he waved to the crowd. It's exactly
So he didn't
right.
get his record.
Yeah.
Oh.
I know,
It slowed
it's
him down. He
incredibly
waved
nice
to the
of him.
crowd, meaning he missed out on a bonus if he'd finished in under 2 hours, 4 minutes. And he missed it by 2 seconds, which is what...
I didn't know.
Yes, the Kunsten Museum of Modern Art in Aalborg
Yeah.
in Denmark, that lost money recently because they lent artist Jens Hanning £65,000 to create an artwork for them. It was intended to be displayed as piles of cash in frames to represent the average national salary in Denmark and Austria. But Hanning instead sent them this. Hanning called the piece, "Take the money and run." He told the press, "The work is that I have taken their money." Bad news for Jens Hunning is the gallery has now commissioned a new work called Artist with Broken Legs by Frankie the Knuckles. Time now for the missing words round. And we start with Andrew Lloyd Webber hated what so much he bought himself what?
Is it the? I can only think of. He hated the film of.
Oh, the
Cats,
Cats
didn't he?
film.
But what would he have bought?
He bought himself a dog.
That's absolutely true. He hated the Cats movie so much, he bought himself a dog. Andrew Lloyd Webber has revealed that the movie version of his musical Cats caused him so much distress, he bought himself a therapy dog. The new puppy is very affectionate, but still can't quite bring himself to lick Andrew Lloyd Webber's face. Next, world's largest version of what scaring visitors in Wales?
Is it Van Gogh painting?
No, world's largest version of a composer, in fact. It's Beethoven's head. Here is the head.
That's Andrew Lloyd Webber.
The sculpture of Beethoven did not impress Culture Secretary Nadine Dorries, who complained it looked nothing like the dog in the film. Next, woman digs out wedding video for 30th anniversary only to discover what?
Husband left 29 years ago.
It's a wedding video. You know somebody's taped over it, haven't they? You know, the bailiffs are coming.
Is it husband?
John says it's not his Labrador, and he's got the receipt to prove it.
That's exactly... I'm going to
I
give
think
you
it's
that.
exactly right.
Yep. Her husband had taped over it with a police show. Here is the special moment with a bit of wedding beforehand. So the final scores are Ian and Jeff have 4, but Paul and Michelle have 10.
What's weird?
Yeah. It's time for the caption competition.
Auditions held for new team captains on Have I Got News for You. That's how we got the job in the first place. I don't know what the crime was, but it's a hell of an identity parade.
And I leave you with news that, after his brief flight into space, William Shatner returns to Earth with only minor side effects. To mark Angela Merkel's stepping down after 16 years as German Chancellor, the Christian Democrats throw a wild party. And there's an awkward moment at Chester Zoo as one of the animals notices that a visitor has sat on a Werther's original. Good night.